Welcome to The Second Opinion, powered by Rite Care, a podcast that explores everyday topics through both a medical and real-world lens. Our goal is to give you, the listener, clear, balanced information so you can make an informed, knowledge-based decision for yourself. Each episode brings together leading medical professionals alongside individuals with real-life experience, offering the full scope of perspective on today's most talked about issues. By cutting through fear-mongering and noise, The Second Opinion empowers you to think critically and decide what's right for you.
We've seen already, and there's multiple case studies and reports that are coming out in the medical literature where people stop smoking and stop drinking.
Really?
And there are studies ongoing as we speak. We're going to be focused to use these medications to help with addiction.
That is incredible.
People doing, and this is really applicable to any extreme weight loss approach. They're viewing it as a solution. The reality is
Hey guys, and welcome to the Second Opinion podcast, where we cut through all the noise so you can make your own decision. Today's episode: Ozempic, healthy weight loss, or just a quick fix? In today's episode, we're going to be talking about not only Ozempic, but all the GLPs, the difference between healthy weight loss, quick fixes. We're going to be joined today by Dr. Hillel Peltz, the medical director of Trak MD, and popular personal trainer Charles Sultan, to break down what's medical, what's sustainable, and what really works. Let's get into it now. Hey guys, we're going to get you right back to today's episode, but first, I want to speak about our sponsor, RightCare. Now, if this is your first time hearing about RightCare, I'm honestly jealous. You will not forget about the first time you heard about RightCare, and you most definitely will not forget about the first time you use them. Picture this. You or your kid wakes up with a fever, sore throat, anything. You're just feeling off. The last thing you want to do is sit in traffic, make your appointments, go make sure you're at your appointment on time, not late. You're surrounded by all the other sick people who are just going to be getting you sicker, and then you have to wait for the doctor to be ready. Hopefully no one's running late. Your other kid's going to be picked up from carpool. Your phone's ringing. You had work. That's where RightCare comes in. RightCare sends a trained medical assistant straight to your home. They connect with a licensed provider while they are by you over video. They run all the necessary tests. They show up with their entire bag. We're going to go into it one time. They run all the tests that a regular doctor's office would be running. And they help to figure out what's going on with you. Most importantly, what you can do about it without leaving the comfort of your own home. They have service locations across New York, New Jersey. They offer the same day appointment, and they're open early mornings, late at night. It's a real life schedule that they're taking into account. They take all insurances and copays and are the same as a regular primary care visit. This is the same exact thing as going to a regular doctor. RightCare partners with trusted medical centers, Chemed Health, Ezra Medical Center. So if you or one of your kids need RightCare, you can call, text, WhatsApp, or just book it online. And a friendly Heimish medical assistant can be at your door within hours. Do yourself a favor, guys. Save the time, save the number, and most importantly, give them a call when you need. 732-292-5665. That's 732-292-5665. Because the next time someone in your house isn't feeling well, you'll be really glad you did. And now, back to our episode. We are sitting here with our favorite Lakewood doctor, Dr. Peltz, a very well-known doctor out here in Lakewood. Man who basically needs no introduction, to be honest with you, but is the medical director of Trak MD. He's a general practitioner and just a well-renowned bedside manner of doctors. So, Dr. Peltz, can you give us a number one introduction to just you, just in case someone's not from Lakewood and is listening, and your ideas over here on where we're coming in?
Thank you very much, Jesse. So I've been living in Lakewood for over 20 years. My training is actually dual trained. I'm both an emergency medicine physician as well as an internal medicine physician. Did emergency medicine, worked in different ERs all over the country for many years. Always had my hand in internal medicine as well. In the last few years, I decided to open my own practice, focusing on internal medicine, and also have a heavy emphasis in weight loss medicine now as well.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. And that obviously is going to segue us into the fact that you definitely don't mention that anymore in public, because then if you're in shul, if you're at a kiddush, if you're waiting online in a supermarket, everybody's going to be asking you the second you say, the weight loss thing, everyone wants to know all about one thing. And as we were saying before, it's like, it's the hot topic. Like there's no, there's no, like I said, kiddush or Shabbos, or anywhere that you're sitting where someone doesn't mention this at least one time. So obviously Ozempic, how are we to understand, number one, where's it from? It just sort of like, to someone like me, it just sort of popped up out of nowhere, and I'm not Mr. Current Events. So I just walked into a conversation where everyone knew what that word meant except for me. So to me, it just seemed like it came out of nowhere. What was this? What was happening? Has it really been around for 20 years? Where did it come from?
Great question. So a little introduction in how I even got into this, just to put things in perspective. So when I was in college in my younger days, I was, pretty much fit, in good shape. Ate what I thought was properly did, ate healthy, did a lot of exercise. And then I did something radically life-changing. I went to medical school.
That ruined everything.
And I mean, as everyone knows, the medical school is, highly stressful. You're literally studying all day long. You're not, I wasn't active as much as I was. And unfortunately, I gained no sleep, not eating properly, really studying a lot, staying up crazy hours. And due to that drastic lifestyle change, I gained 50 pounds my first year of medical school.
Wow.
And throughout medical school, I gained close to 100 pounds. So for me, that was like, wow. I always thought, I was healthy. And then you think, as life goes on, I'm going to end up losing the weight. I'm going to do something, I'm going to go back to the gym. I'm going to start eating better. But as we know, life happens, and it snowballs.
And it happens fast.
It happens fast. It happens really fast. And it came to a point where I was like, whoa, I got to do something about my weight. I used to be very fit, and now I'm having trouble just walking up a flight of steps and, huffing and puffing. So at that time, it was about 12, 13 years ago, then the bariatric surgeries were very popular, and particularly I did a lot of research into the bariatric surgeries to figure out, do I want to do the surgery? Is this something worthwhile? And at that time, I did a lot of research, particularly into the gastric band, and I went and I did the surgery.
Interesting.
So I lost, and after I did that, I lost approximately 125 pounds.
Wow.
But I plateaued, meaning I couldn't lose. I was very heavy at one time, close to 375 pounds.
That's...
So after doing that surgery,
did they not let you bring it into this room? Because that's like two of you.
Yeah, I was carrying around my twin brother with me for many years.
Wow.
So it was very challenging, especially as a physician. We're supposed to be, the guardians of health, and here I was myself. I couldn't get a hold of it and couldn't get on top of it, as if to say, couldn't get back to where I was in my younger years, and that was very frustrating for me and very challenging. So, I thought the surgery was going to be the answer to it all, but then again, that was available at the time, and even with proper nutrition, what I thought was proper nutrition at the time, I still wasn't able to break that barrier of getting below, let's say, 250. And then I found that I would be going up to 300, back down. It was a struggle for a few years, even after the surgery. That's when I said to myself, I really need to do something else. And I decided then to go and take some extra courses just in nutrition, There's this society called the Obesity Medical Association. Went to their conferences and started learning more about metabolism, nutrition, stuff that I really didn't learn in medical school or didn't focus on, and really opened up a whole new world to me that this is a discipline unto itself.
There's always talk around me I hear from other people that doctors are trained in medicine, not health. Is there any truth to that when it comes to this, where it's just willy-nilly being, here's your prescription for that because, 1 + 1 = 2. You're overweight. This will make you lose weight. Medicine. This medication will work. Go and, as long as there's no extreme side effects, we're good. Or is it that no, obviously we can't speak for every medical practitioner on earth, but the general medical practitioner will not be sitting there writing out things unless they are certain that this is imperative over here to use?
That's an excellent question. It's a very complex question to answer because it's I can't say that all doctors are trained this way and all doctors are practicing. It really boils down to the way medicine is being practiced currently in the United States. And yes, unfortunately, that a lot of medicine has become what we call reactionary medicine. Okay, you have a disease, you have high blood pressure, here's a pill. Mm-hmm. You have type 2 diabetes, here's a pill. And I think the focus of medicine, and I think it is starting to change, especially with the advent of certain medications, and as we're learning more and more and more about preventative medicine, that there is a focus and a push to do more to prevent chronic diseases, prevent type 2 diabetes, prevent obesity, prevent hypertension, prevent high cholesterol. And the biggest limiting rate step, I think, to that is that, unfortunately, doctors don't have enough time to spend with their patients to educate them about these factors.
Wow.
So, it's...
That's a very interesting point I never thought about.
Yeah, so it's really about education. It's about educating your patients, educating them and taking the time to educate them, which is not an easy thing today for doctors to do because of the time constraints. Right. Not that they don't want to, and not that they don't have the knowledge to. It's just the time constraints, the limits, the limits that insurance companies impose upon us, the limits of the reimbursement. It's multifactorial. But really, that's where medicine is heading. In other words, today we have the know-how to literally reverse so many chronic diseases, not just treat them, but to help reverse them. And I think that's where the focus of medicine is heading, and hopefully will be, throughout, most practices, hopefully. And, if we can get there, if we can peel away all the regulatory and bureaucratic parts of medicine and really spend more time with our patients and not have to be worried about, the reimbursement part and be worried about, are we getting paid for this? Are we not getting paid for that? Did I code this properly? Did I not code this properly? There's so many regulatory and bureaucratic stuff in medicine that's just sort of, for lack of a better term, almost tying our hands and not letting us do the best for our patients.
Right. You mentioned the band surgery. Ever since I've been alive, there's always been something that people have been doing. I remember there was a little takufa over there of some sort of pregnancy hormone that people were injecting, and like all sorts of different concepts and ideas that is Ozempic the same risk, the same difficulty, the same commitment as something like a band surgery? Or are these things completely different and in different places in different ways?
Excellent question. So let's talk about a little bit of the history of Ozempic. We really, everyone labels it now as Ozempic. It's really a medicine called GLP1s. GLP1s, glucagon-like peptide hormones. These hormones are amazing. They're extremely complex on what they can do. And let's go back and just explain when they first started and what their intent was, and then a little history in that, just so people can understand, because there's a lot of confusion about Ozempic and the names and this and that. So just to clarify that, so we get the nomenclature right. So in 2005, there was a medicine that came out called Byetta, which was designed specifically to treat type 2 diabetes. What we found was, in addition to being an excellent medication to help control and even reverse type 2 diabetes, people were losing weight. And on average, people were losing anywhere between 5 to 7% of total body weight loss in a year with that first generation GLP-1, we're going to call it. Then they came out with a second generation called Saxenda or liraglutide. The second generation went from 2 injections a day to 1 injection a day. And also we saw that there was a little bit more weight loss that we were seeing with patients. And then we come to the third generation of the GLP1s, which is Ozempic. So it's really a third generation GLP1. Mm-hmm. And the difference between the second generation and the third generation is that with Ozempic, we found that, by the way, the Ozempic went from being an injection twice a day with liraglutide to Ozempic semaglutide being an injection once a week. And we found the total weight loss in a year was approximately 15%.
Wow.
Total weight loss. So that's a huge jump. That was the first time any medication in the history of medications used to treat obesity ever had that amount of
20% is
15% is huge. It's huge.
Right.
The only thing that was able to get that amount of weight loss, that percentage of weight loss, to achieve that percentage was surgeries. Right. But now you have a medicine that's encroaching on so now the question is, do you need to do surgery? Should you use the medication? So now, and if the medication is working and it's helping control type 2 diabetes and people lose weight, then why do we need to do the surgery anymore? That brings up another whole topic, which we can get into a little later. But so now we have Ozempic, which gained its notoriety because of the fact that there was significant more weight loss than the previous GLP-1s. And then we have the sort of, let's say, the celebrities that started using it and promoting it on social media, and it gained that notoriety. So everybody thinks, oh, you're losing weight, you're on Ozempic.
Right.
Well, so there are multiple GLP-1s, and the newest generation, or let's call it the 4th generation of GLP-1s, is actually a combined medicine where we're using 2 hormones. We're using GLP-1, which is a hormone, and we're using something called GIP. And when they combine the 2, they have a synergistic effect.
Oh, wow.
So with the 3rd generation Ozempic GLP-1s, people were losing approximately 15% total body weight loss in a year. With the 4th generation, studies are showing people are losing up to 25% total body weight loss in a year.
Whoa.
So these medications are evolving. There's a new generation that's in currently stage 3 FDA trials that may have even more profound weight loss effects than even the 4th generation. They're going to be triple hormone. But these are very powerful medications, very potent medications that have really, really changed the landscape, the playing field with regards to metabolic diseases. And we're finding that it's done under the guise of proper medical care with a physician, combined with a comprehensive program that includes nutrition, that includes doing exercise, that includes following metabolic biomarkers and doing body composition. All that combined can really, really, really impact people's health.
Yeah, this is where I think we find that like most people fall off was at the end of the entire thing right there, where we say, it could do 15% of entire body weight in a year. You should really do it with a medical professional alongside diet, exercise, and then they just stop. The listening, ends over there. They heard the 15%, they want to go on it and still eat their donuts and still, but as a for lack of what is the GLPs doing to the person's body or to the person's metabolism? Is it actually affecting the metabolism where it's speeding that up and that's going to be burning more fat for them? Or is it just because the general consensus around people is, why aren't you eating? Oh, I'm on Ozempic. I don't have an appetite, or I don't have. So is it just an appetite suppressant, or is it something that's actually doing something to the fat in the body?
Excellent question. So let's get into the, lack of a better term, or it is the physiology of how this medicine works in our bodies, which is really important. I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible.
Please do.
And if I'm getting too technical, please, But basically, to keep it simple, these GLP-1s, these hormones are actually, and the medications are actually copies of hormones that we make in our own body. So GLP-1s are actually made in our own body.
Wow.
So the next question people usually ask me, or should ask me, is if my body makes this hormone, why do I need to take an injection of it? In other words, why do I need to take an exogenous source or an outside source of this medicine? My body's making these hormones already. So basically it works like this. When a person eats food, their stomach expands. One of the things that happen is that these hormones, the GLP1s that are made in our body, are released by certain cells that reside in our colon. As a matter of fact, they're called L cells. Don't worry, there's no written test on this, but the body releases the GLP1, and one of the many functions, it has multiple functions. One of the many functions is to send the GLP1 send a signal to your brain that you're full. So you stop eating. So as your stomach expands, one of the many functions of this GLP1 hormone is to send a signal to your brain, a certain part of the brain, to say, hey, your stomach's expanded, you're full, you need to stop eating. We call that a satiety signal, the sensation of feeling full, right? So now, if I have that satiety signal, then why do I need to take an exogenous source? So the thing is like this. When we're sitting down to eat a meal, we have to wait for that GLP-1 level to rise to a certain level before it's sending that signal to the brain. In addition, once we finish eating the meal, we know that in our bodies, that GLP-1 levels, the body breaks it down pretty much. And not long after the meal, it goes back down to your baseline. A few hours later, you're getting hungry, and that cycle tends to repeat itself. What we found is when we inject it, they attach a small molecule to it that keeps its half-life in the medicine elevated in your bloodstream for approximately 5 to 7 days.
Interesting.
So now, when a person sits down to eat a meal, since those GLP-1 levels are already elevated,
they're already there.
They're already there. So that signal can go to the brain much sooner. We call that early satiety. They're getting that signal of feeling full much sooner. Mm-hmm. So now when I'm sitting down to eat a meal, I could be halfway through the plate of what I used to eat, let's say double, and now I'm feeling full. So now I'm eating less. So that's what we call positive effect number one, what we're looking for. That signal of early satiety from those elevated levels of the GLP-1s. Mm. And that's why it's a once-a-week injection, because it lasts in our body at that elevated level approximately 5 to 7 days. Mm. In addition, we're finding that we know that these medicines help something else, help to cause something called delayed gastric emptying. I mean, it keeps the food in our stomach for longer. So if our GLP-1 levels are elevated for a longer period of time, and the food is in our stomach and intestines for longer, that keeps us fuller for longer. So that also adds to that sensation of feeling fuller for longer, meaning that you're going to be eating less. So if I'm feeling full for longer, it's also reducing that food noise in my head because I'm not getting hungry as often. Mm-hmm. So I get the positive effect of the early satiety plus the positive effect of the reduced food noise due to the delayed gastric emptying.
Interesting. Uh-huh.
Another major benefit that we've discovered with these medications is that they work on specific centers in the brain that have to do with our craving centers or pleasure centers and affect something called dopamine levels.
Right.
So by turning down the dial of our cravings, we're not craving those foods anymore, such as the bad foods, the carbs that we all like, the cookies, the cakes, the ice cream. So if you combine those three, what I like to call positive effects of early satiety, reduced food noise to delay gastric emptying, and reduced cravings, this is a powerful medication to help people lose weight.
I'm just thinking, in the way where it's going to curb and I'm going to use the term curb as opposed to kill craving, would that be effective for other cravings? Smoking, drugs. My background is in addiction and crisis intervention. So I know if I could get someone who's their cravings down, I mean...
Excellent question. And the answer is yes. We've seen already, and there's multiple case studies and reports that are coming out in the medical literature where people stop smoking and stop drinking on this medication. And there are studies ongoing as we speak that are going to be focused to use these medications to help with addiction.
That is incredible.
Yeah,
It's
fascinating.
I've never even heard that.
These medicines have wide applications, and it's really a game changer because there's a whole dynamic shift with and as these medicines evolve, their applications are going to grow and grow and grow.
Wow.
So yes, there is a whole body of literature that is focused on that.
Wow.
And they've already started to use it. In particular, is with alcoholics, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I've had patients report to me. I've had patients of mine that stopped smoking.
Really?
Patients of mine who told me they stopped drinking, they just stopped drinking alcohol.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would again be a, where excessive weight, obesity and the like is exceptionally dangerous. And I don't think people or most people understand how dangerous or how negative, how much of a negative effect it can have. I unfortunately, through watching my parents age and other people, I get firsthand views of what what can happen when people aren't actively trying to take care of certain parts of their health, but it can be as bad. I'm saying as overeating, all these things can be as bad as being addicted to cigarettes, alcohol, or the like. So to have that correlate together is I think tremendous. But on the other end, I don't think anything is as simple as good or bad. I've never found it in any shape or form that I feel like people, especially I think in our communities, want to always jump on something and just get a red light or a green light, and that's it. Like that's how it applies. Like we should end all drinking everywhere. Like that's not how you solve a problem. That's not but with with Ozempic, is there a way or world, and when I was speaking to the personal trainer as well, is there a way or world where we're going to say, no, this is the first line? Like if you need to lose 10 pounds, this should be your first line. It's that worth it to do as opposed to regular diet and exercise that might get you there. Or is it, no, definitely go diet and exercise?
That's a great question. So my approach is with my patients, it's looking at the health of the patient, looking at them from a metabolic perspective. Do they have comorbidities? Do they have hypertension? Do they have high cholesterol? Are they obese? Are there any other factors that are causing their weight gain? And today it's really multifactorial. People could have certain illnesses that promote weight gain. People could be on certain medications that promote weight gain. So and this is really what I want, and I keep on stressing this, it's really an individualized process. It's not a cookie cutter approach. And it must be an individual.
No red
process.
light, green light.
Exactly. So, I evaluate each patient, based on where are you as far as your overall health, your comorbidities, your degree of even being overweight or obese, which is different categories. And, do you have insulin resistance? Are you type 2 diabetic? Are you pre-diabetic? And let's put all those factors together and come up with the best possible plan for that individual. And for some people, yes, because of their comorbidities, then I've had patients coming into me who, let's say maybe only 20, 30 pounds overweight, but on multiple medications. And for high blood pressure, for type 2 diabetes, for pre-diabetes, for high cholesterol. I've taken them off all those medications.
Wow.
And now they're on one medication.
Wow.
So to me, that's an
that
amazing trade-off.
And
the key is that not only do they lose weight, but we improve their health.
Wow.
So I think, and that's I think where the focus should really be. People should really be more focused on, it's, due to the social media, there's a lot of people, I want to lose weight, so I want to take a shot, and people think I'm going to melt if I take the shot.
Right.
The focus should really be on health.
Right.
Let's become healthier.
Right.
Let's understand more about our metabolism, our nutrition, preventing chronic disease, and let that weight loss be secondary to becoming healthy. I think if we take that approach overall, which is, for lack of a better term, more preventative in that sense, we can really, help people not only lose that weight, but by helping them change their lifestyle, maintain that weight loss. And that's the key. Lose the weight and keep it off and become healthy.
Wow. And what, if any, maybe there aren't, but what, if any, are immediate no's that if someone out there is listening or someone hears this or someone's thinking about it, you can tell them from beforehand if you have or if you experience or if you are coming from a certain place of health or a certain place of standing of this is not for you. Is there any like specific disorder or anything that they should know about that can lead to a problem here?
Excellent question. So there are right now some contraindications, some what we call absolute contraindications and some relative contraindications. And let's go through that. So the absolute contraindications to being on a GLP-1 are identified by the FDA as two diseases, something called medullary thyroid carcinoma, MTC, or something called MEN type 2, multiple endocrine neoplasia type 2. And the reason those are absolute contraindications is because when they were studying this medicine, they were doing the research on it, so certain mice that they were doing the research on with the medication, they always do, they experiment with it usually on rodents or mice before they bring it to human trial. So some mice develop these types of diseases, something called. They are very, very rare types of cancers. And since those mice developed it, the FDA said, hey, if a person has a family history or any history of either of these two diseases, we recommend that they don't go on this medication. Now, so that's what we call an absolute contraindication. The medical literature right now has not yet, as far as from what I've checked, has not yet identified any humans that have ever developed this.
Oh, interesting.
As of today, but still we take that precaution and we don't recommend it for those patients.
Oh, wow.
And there's some of the literature that I read said that the reason that mice develop it because they have certain increased receptors for what we call GLP1R8 receptors on their thyroid, and is one of the reasons why they're more prone to developing it. But that, be it as it may, until we have more data that we could safely say that that humans can take this medication, we would definitely want to follow the FDA's guidelines that we don't want to give it to patients with that kind of family history.
So, for instance, someone who has had or has a family, there's no family history of that, I don't think, but someone who has had a Hodgkin's lymphoma or any thyroid, issue or risk would, I mean, obviously always consult with your medical professional, but should definitely be bringing that up as a concern.
Right. So specifically, now there are different types of thyroid cancer, and it's specifically this one type called medullary thyroid carcinoma, which is very rare, and it's just that one. There are other types of thyroid cancer that are not a contraindication. Correct. Right. I'm glad you asked that because I wanted to clarify that.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. So just to I guess wrap us up in a way. It's never I try to explain this to people all the time. If you're on a panel and someone says, what's the one thing or what's the two things? The answer is yes. I don't know. There's no one thing to anything. There's everything that comes out like this is going to be, like you said, a complex issue. And that's why there's so much training and so much needed. From my understanding of what everyone's saying, it's not a one hit or, no pun intended, but a one shot fix. It's a lifestyle change that if using this, you are much more likely to be able to create that lifestyle change. Everyone that I've spoken to, we're sitting here, at Rite Care and everything. Everyone I've spoken to here, I think the average secretary over here is so knowledgeable in medicine. It's wild, but everyone that I've spoken to, it all comes down to that same thing of get the right doctor, have the right information, and go forward with that. I like to ask everybody this: with everything that you know and all of the background and everything that you have. And then I'll let you close, with anything that you want everyone to know about. But with everything that you have, what is that conversation? You're at a shul kiddush, you're at a family meal, and someone says something comes up on this topic, and you're like, no, I can't have this conversation again with someone. Like, I can't. What's that? And if you were able to say it now, everyone will know it. and it could just, it'll just go, everyone will go with that one idea, what would that be?
Excellent. So, yeah, I get this every day. So let me, sort of put it in perspective and give you like a broad overview of my approach and my take, and where I feel that, people should focus on is that you have to think of these medications as a tool. It's a tool to empower us, or every individual, to help us make proper lifestyle changes. And if we can do, and that's what it does, it lowers the bar and makes it easier for us to make those lifestyle changes. And if we can do that, if we can make those lifestyle changes mean choosing proper nutrition. And that's a whole topic unto itself.
Right. We plan on having you back for it.
So it's about proper nutrition. It's about, yes, doing exercise. Exercise is a huge part of this, because one of the things we can touch on is also a huge topic. People are worried, if I take Ozempic, I'm going to lose muscle mass. Well, it's not, and this is another, lack of a better term, a myth. People say, Ozempic, take the shot, you lose muscle mass. No, any weight loss can cause loss of muscle mass. So, being treated by a medical personnel that understands nutrition, understands metabolism, and is watching your metabolism and is watching your body composition. And this is something serious to watch, because I really watch my patients. I watch to see on a monthly basis, or sometimes even more frequently, depending on the patient, are you losing muscle mass? And if you're losing muscle mass, we need to address that immediately. We cannot afford to lose muscle mass. And it's not the Ozempic that causes the muscle mass. It's the fact that if you're not getting adequate nutrition and doing some form of resistance exercise, your body will lose muscle mass. Wow. And it has to do with being what we call metabolically flexible. You want not to get too technical and too scientific, but we want that your body should preferably use what we call fat as a fuel source. And if you're not optimizing your nutrition and your metabolism, your body can end up using muscle as a fuel source. And we want to avoid that. And that's a very complex metabolic process that you need a physician to really be on top of.
Wow.
People are ordering this stuff off the internet without any supervision, besides the fact that people ending up sick and getting side effects, not being managed properly, ending up in the hospital because they're overdosed or didn't take the right dose. No one's watching no one's following their biomarkers in their blood, which is key. No one's really instructing them on proper nutrition, making sure they're getting proper exercise, following their body composition. It really needs to be done under the guise of a medical doctor that's trained in this area, so that you could be successful on it. And remember, it's about becoming healthy, losing the weight, and keeping that weight off.
Wow. Dr. Peltz, I know you were in a rush today, and I cannot thank you enough. For me, for one, I feel very much armed and empowered with proper information right now for when people talk to me about this. I know how to, and I hope everyone out there was able to take what I was able to take from this. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you and speaking with you. Hey guys, we're going to get right back to the episode. I just want to take a minute to talk about our sponsor, Chemed, a patient-centered medical center built around one simple idea: healthcare. Healthcare should feel connected, not complicated. Chemed brings together primary care, urgent care, pediatrics, women's health, behavioral health, and specialty services under one roof. So patients don't have to manage their care alone. Everything works together, which means better communication, better follow-up, and most importantly, better outcomes for the patients. What truly sets Chemed apart is the focus on the whole person. Medical providers collaborate closely with the behavioral health, care management, and support services, making sure care continues beyond the appointment. This is critical to get the best results possible for each and every patient. Chemed also prioritizes access, timely appointments, thoughtful follow-through, and care designed for real families with real schedules. Deeply rooted in the community, Chemed is committed not just to treatment, but to the education, prevention, and long-term wellness of each and every patient. To learn more or experience care that feels coordinated and human, visit one of Chemed's locations on Madison or River, in Lakewood, and in Jackson. Hey guys, we're going to get you right back to the episode, but I just want to talk to you about today's sponsor, Vivit. If you ever stood in front of your vitamin cabinet and wondered, am I even taking the right thing? This happens to me all the time. I'm constantly going through my vitamins, through my supplements, and seeing, does any of this apply to me? Are you dealing with low energy, allergies, sleep issues, or just feeling not yourself? It can get confusing. For me and a lot of people I know, and that is exactly where Vivit exists. They're not a brand pushing one product specifically. You're going to hear all over the place one green juice or one vitamin being sold. They're a vitamin concierge service. You can call, you can WhatsApp, and they're going to explain to you exactly what it is that you need to be taking for your lifestyle and your needs are. They're going to guide you through, take away all the confusion between brands, dosages, what makes sense for you to take, what you don't need to be taking. You want someone to review what's already in your cabinet, they can do that for you too. Even if you're not placing an order, just reach out. They're there to help. You'll be greeted by a super friendly team that actually listens. Their service is efficient, responsive, and easy. And they constantly run exciting specials on their platform. And when you first connect with them, you receive a very exciting welcome package filled with valuable and useful items that make the experience even better. Call, text, or WhatsApp 845-388-1599. That's 845-388-1599. Or you can visit their website at myvivit.com, and you'll be directed straight to someone who is knowledgeable and can help you. Just message them. Consider your vitamins handled. We have Charlie Sultan. Charlie, you can give everybody a little bit of your background,
sure.
Who you are.
So I've been personal training for about close to 8 years now. And, it evolved into working with physical therapists and focusing more on, corrective exercises for people. But the main baby, I would call it, is the day-to-day training where, we just take people who are 35, 45, 50 years old who haven't been working out in the last, or at all, maybe in the last 10 years or 20 years, and just getting them back up to speed of where they should be, because we're actually seeing something unheard of now, and that is we have 35-year-old guys come in, and they're in worse shape than their 65-year-old fathers.
Wow.
So once that's the case, so then we have to really take a step back and look into things and see what's going on over here and what can be done to change it. Because I train fathers and I train sons, and I'm seeing this over and over and over again. And literally from 16 to 45, 61-year-old to 35-year-old, the father is constantly outperforming the son, and that's a very, very big problem.
That's very scary.
So how do we change that? And I think that's where our topic comes in, of why people are starting to jump on Ozempic and start taking things a little bit more aggressively than they have been, as opposed to just going to the local nutritionist and getting a diet plan. So
right. So
that's what it's been.
I think it's interesting. I think most people, something like this, especially when it comes into the Jewish world, is always going to have a certain amount of suspect to it. I remember when I was a kid.
I'm Ksheirif.
Right, exactly. Exactly. When people are going this direction, I think we tend to start a journey, and in my opinion, one of the reasons why a lot of times it isn't successful is the journey that people start to take. And I love the fact that you went straight for the health of it, because a lot of times the journey people start to take is, and not that there's anything wrong with trying to look good. I think there becomes a stigma that you have to not care what you look like and care what you look like at the same time, exactly. But you're not allowed to talk about caring what you look like.
Exactly.
And so I think people who start a lot of times, even outside of Ozempic, are going to start at certain times a journey of weight loss or a journey of health. The motivation a lot of times is physical appearance, is, for lack of a better term, vanity. But am I wrong in assuming that want to look good is only going to get them so far?
So I would put it a little bit differently. I would say it doesn't really matter, what your end goal is, meaning whether it's losing weight, whether it's getting stronger, whether it's looking better. It's really the approach that you're taking, how you view that. For example, we're talking about Ozempic now, right? So people are taking Ozempic, let's say, to get skinnier, to look better, right? So let's say I didn't have any opinion on what they should be focusing on. I said, okay, you want to look better, right? They are viewing Ozempic as a solution when in reality it's a tool. From what I see people doing, and this is really applicable to any extreme weight loss approach, they're viewing it as a solution. The reality is Ozempic allows you to get to a better starting point. So you haven't begun anything yet until you've taught yourself discipline, eating correctly, exercising properly, and Ozempic will help you get to a better starting point. So if, let's say, I'm 150 pounds overweight, which is unfortunately not an uncommon thing, and I say, okay, I'm going to take Ozempic now, right? So you didn't start your journey yet. You're using a tool to help fast track you to that starting point.
Wow.
Because you shouldn't be taking Ozempic, long term. That shouldn't be something that you do.
It's like a pre-op prep.
Exactly. So it's like something that you do to get yourself, okay, now I'm 100 pounds lighter. While you're on it, you should, and we'll get more into this about, how to behave while you're on it. But okay, so now I lost 150 pounds. Now my journey starts, right? Because if your journey doesn't start then, and it's just, okay, you're at the solution now. So now what?
Right.
You're just going to go backwards and gain more weight. You understand? So I believe it's viewed as the solution to people's problems when in reality it's just a tool.
That's very interesting.
So I don't think it makes a difference if you want to look good, great, look
Right.
good. But understand that the Ozempic is not going to really help you look good long term.
Right. I do have a lot of background, actually, something a lot of people don't know. When I was much younger, I actually studied and was working alongside somebody to just learn how to. I thought I was going to use it in a different way, but learn how to be a personal trainer. And I studied a lot of muscle, a lot of different sciences around it. So I know specifically there are definite detriments that are going to happen from extreme weight loss. Certainly when it comes to exercise, certainly when it comes to performance. So, but I think most people just see them as correlating. A skinnier person is healthy,
Exactly.
A heavier person is not. And to the point that a lot of times you'll point at someone who's very into fitness, and doesn't fit their, the average person's, 30 waist thing, and they're like, well, what do you mean? He doesn't. So can you help us out on understanding the effects of it as far as where it would come in on our productivity, where extreme weight loss in that way, not even just Ozempic, but this is the case with Ozempic, will come in on exercise, will impact exercise, will impact energy, will impact people's ability to, even the day-to-day function.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that?
Yeah, sure. So I think there's 2 points here. One being that when you take Ozempic or this really applies to any extreme weight loss program that you're going to follow, like you mentioned, there's going to be some serious muscle loss to that. It's inevitable. That's it. That's what's going to happen. You're going to lose a ton of weight. Now, the problem is when you go on the scale, you just see a number for the amount of weight that you are. We don't know what that weight is coming from. It could be water, it can be muscle, it can be fat. When you go on a extreme weight loss program, you are going to be losing a lot of muscle, lean muscle mass with that. That's something that most people can't afford to lose. So what we've just come up with is that weight loss in that scale is not necessarily making you healthier.
Interesting.
Because if you're losing all that muscle with it, the risk reward might not be there. And this goes into that second problem of we think skinnier equals healthier. Mm-hmm. While there are many, many, many benefits to being skinnier and weighing less, it does not make you a healthy person because you've done so. You might be a little bit healthier and you're in a, again, better spot, but you can still have a whole laundry list of things that need to be addressed via exercise and living a healthy lifestyle as opposed to just being skinny.
Yeah, and that speaks to the point you were making before, that what you're doing on this is very, while you're on the Ozempic or anything, and what you're doing afterwards, all these things are extremely important because, maybe just take 1 minute to speak about why, but keeping that lean muscle mass, especially for an aging person. This isn't necessarily the vanity part of it. And I think that's where people hear muscle and they're like, oh, no, that's okay. I just want to fit into a suit. Exactly. Like, no, I don't go to a beach. You're like, no, that's not what we mean by lean muscle. So if you explain the importance of lean muscle and what you could be losing in that sense.
Sure. So basically, you move, right? Your body has functionalities. You can walk up steps, you can lie down, you can get out of a bed. All these things are using muscles to create tension on the joints to get you to do a specific movement that you're trying to do. By having muscle, you can do those things more efficiently and in a stronger way. So when you go on an extreme weight loss program and you lose all that muscle, you're now saying to your functionality, okay, we're cutting you by 50%. And you actually see people, they walk around, they lost 100 pounds, but they look gaunt and frail. So it's only a matter of time till that lack of muscle comes back to bite them from a functional standpoint. Forget about healthy. Let's say they've gotten themselves, and this is another thing I'd love to ask the doctor of how many people actually get off medications from those weight loss, but that's a separate topic. But let's say they've gotten down 100 pounds, 150 pounds, but you can't move anymore. You're trying to walk up the steps and it's starting to hurt you. You're trying to get out of bed and your bones are aching. So I think it's super important to understand from a non-medical standpoint, just a physical standpoint, what you're doing to yourself. And that's forcing yourself to lose a ton of muscle in the process, which again, might not outweigh the reward of just being skinny.
So have you seen positives, and we can speak to both sides, of what it is that happens where they were beforehand, during, after, how it helped, what things maybe people should watch out for, can look out for during that journey. We'll speak about the mental health aspect of it in a minute, but during that journey, just purely the physical aspect of it.
So I'm lucky enough to be training people who were here before they started. They came right when they started, and then started training, and then started to take it. So it kind of covers all three times in which you can start taking it. And I think across the board, the faster you start exercising and incorporating it, then the better off you will be in maintaining the muscle instead of losing it. Because the way muscle works is if you use it, you won't lose it as fast. Now, I'm not saying that it's gonna override the extreme weight loss. You might still lose it, but it will actually maintain some of the muscle, maybe slow down the process. But one thing it will do is continue your body's knowledge of functional movements by exercising. So at least your body will know how to move. This way you can, keep moving. People who take it before they start exercising, it's really hard because they get themselves into a spot where they're at a low from a physical perspective. They don't have the muscle they don't have it because they haven't used it. Their body's partially broken down because of the extreme overweight over the years, as well as now they've lost a ton of weight. So they're really in a bad spot when it comes to lean muscle mass. And I've had big dudes come in and they could barely lift,
And that's where it's affecting them in their strength, in their energy. Like what part of that is?
Well, the energy is that is going to happen by default when you're on an extreme weight loss program. We weren't meant to be this extreme,
right?
This is all an unnatural thing that's becoming a very natural thing. We're trying to make it. You talk to a guy at a Kiddush. I'm on Ozempic. I'm not eating anything. I haven't eaten. I have guys that come in and train. Literally, he says, I didn't eat anything today. Maybe I had a little bit yesterday. And I'm looking at him. I can't train you like this. Like, how are you going to expect to do anything? That's not natural.
Wow.
So.
And they're even saying it with a little bit of pride.
Yeah, because as long as they see the scale going down, they're happy. But I think that getting an exercise program in, regardless of what stage you're at, whatever you can do, it should be an emergency situation in your head where you need to start moving. Now, with that being said, I do have clients who, some of them a lot of people react very differently to it. Some people get very nauseous. I had a guy come in, he's like, the first time I'm out of bed today. I was in bed all day for me. He just started taking it and it made him sick. I have another guy. I tell him he's a phenomenon because, and this is really debunking the whole, not debunking it, but it is a case, and I'm happy to share it, where this guy started taking Ozempic. I guess it wasn't as aggressive, his dosage, but this guy has gotten stronger and stronger and stronger.
Wow.
And it could be because he started, right when he started taking it, he said, I better get to the gym.
Wow.
And what that was, that led to good, healthy lifestyle changes that he's actually getting much stronger.
Wow.
So can I say that that's a debunk on the whole, Ozempic thing? Not necessarily, because it is 1 out of 10 cases that I work with, but it's something that you should know. If you start right away, it'll help you.
If a person needs to lose, 10 pounds, do you feel that this is an acceptable risk to do, to take any sort of medication even, but definitely an Ozempic, or can that be done so effectively through diet and training that it's not worth that risk?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're talking about 10 pounds, I don't even have to be a doctor to answer that.
Wow.
That's because you can lose 10 pounds with a couple of weeks of discipline. That's not a lot of weight. At the end of the day, it's all going to boil down to you. It's not the Ozempic. It's not the diet that you choose. Any diet, I know this is going to hurt a lot of people because everybody who's losing weight on a specific diet walks around saying, my diet, I'm telling you, I met this guy. I met this guy. I'm telling you, you go around the table and every guy will be on a different diet, and when you look at it, it's really the same diet, just with different names. But at the end of the day, it's going to boil down to you and your discipline for long term. Right. So no matter how you get to your starting point, from your starting point on, it's going to boil down to you. So if you're at 10 pounds that you need to lose, right? Why have all these risks when you're right by the starting point? You're in a much better spot, obviously, because you haven't gotten to that extreme spot yet, where you might be able to say, hey, let me tighten things up a little bit, tighten my eating, start exercising a little bit, and get myself 10 pounds down instead of suffering with nausea for a week, feeling weak, having extreme weight loss, which will lead to loss of muscle and all that stuff. Let me just, get myself in check, and at a certain point, no matter how you slice the cake, no pun intended, you're gonna have to boil down to yourself and look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, you got to do something about it, because there's a very big problem out there of people who are taking Ozempic, and let's say it's okay for them, right? They need to lose the 100 pounds, so they take Ozempic, but they're eating donuts and they're eating cake. I had one donut today. I haven't had it eaten in 2 days, right? Yeah. And they're losing weight. So who's going to argue with that? Right. I just lost 5 pounds in the last 2 weeks eating donuts, right? But the real problem is that when they come off of that, they're still the donut-eating man. Right. And they're just going to gain all that weight right back. But another thing that has to be talked about is because it's so extreme, you're forcing your body to adapt also on an extreme level. See, the body works through adaptations. It doesn't just switch on a dime, right? It gets used to a certain, calorie intake. It gets used to a certain way of life. He exercises. He doesn't exercise. He eats this amount. He doesn't eat that. And when you start to introduce fast-changing things on your body, it wasn't designed to handle that well. So that leads you to a whole set of mental health problems, which, again, confirm with the doctor, but you and I both know that when we're hungry, we're hangry. Right? Everybody knows that when you need to eat, your mood's a little off, right? So if that's true just on a regular person, then how about a guy who's not eating? He's not eating. His body's not. You weren't meant to do that. Your body wasn't meant to not eat. You need to have slow adaptations on your body, give it time to adjust, and slowly make changes. And it will if you let it. The problem is we've overcomplicated things because we refuse to look at ourselves. Because we refuse to look at ourselves, we say, oh, I need to have a no-carb diet. Oh, I can't control myself, so I need to go on Ozempic. Oh, I need to do it. Intermittent fasting, I'm going to start doing that because I can't. But at the end of the day, it's because you can't control yourself. And you can't run away from that. Your body has to adapt slow. You have to own it, and you have to just do it week in, week out, and not let Shabbos be the excuse. Yeah,
okay. That's always going to be a...
Shabbos is always going to come back.
That's always going to be a big one. That's always a big one. Yeah, again, on the episode we're doing on health and fitness, we will definitely bring up our Shabbos excuses. So when it comes to things like Ozempic and the like, what do you wish people would just know And like, if you said it now, they'll all know it, and you'll never have to hear that conversation again.
Can I get two things?
Please.
No, so I think what frustrates me the most is the way people believe the craziest things. And instead of believing forget about me being a professional, but any professional saying something, you know, I don't think if you went to any doctor and you say, doctor, for real, I'm ready to watch myself and just do it the right way, I don't think he would say, no, take Ozempic. You know, I think he would get behind you, which is what they've been doing for years, behind your exercise, behind your nutrition, and tell you to do it that way, right? So I think that if that's the case, then why do people believe, oh, you know, there's creams now that, and I'm not trying to throw shade on anybody who's, you know, doing creams, but there's creams now that supposedly have this whole Ozempic effect on people, and people are just believing it. And they have now these, you know, these quicker fixers to getting fit in 7 days. I mean, anybody that I know in a professional sense never did any of that stuff. And it's 2026, and they still don't do it. So like, what do you know that they don't know? And they look what they want to look like, and you don't.
Exactly.
So, and people are just believing it. So and I think it goes back to just running away from yourself. And you know that we just combine both things into one, but that really it just look at yourself, understand that you need to change. Whether it's you want to look good, you want to lose weight, you want to get strong, you want to get fitter. Just understand that it's you who has to do it for yourself, and not anything else that's going to do it. Because then it's just
really
one thing to the next.
All right. Well, Shoal, it was so nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Very big pleasure, and I really hope people are going to be able to take that.
Make the right
where
decision.
can people find you? If
Just call me 917-828-4564, and we'll try to get you set up with something.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. Thanks for watching the episode. Here at Second Opinion, we're always trying to have you be the one who makes the second opinion. I hope today's episode allowed you the information and access to that information enough to be able to decide for yourself. If you like today's episode, if it spoke to you and you want to see more, we got more. You can access our podcast anywhere, any platform where you get your podcast. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever it is, we're on there. Video, audio, you got it. Please remember to like and subscribe. And again, thank you guys for joining us.